Hey, good evening. I've been looking forward to getting this one for a while. I like the Chicago Electric compound miter, and I used it for years. I upgraded to the Admiral, and I liked it, but when I saw this one, I really wanted it instead, so I went and bought it. Part number is HE74, that's kind of a weird one, but the 5-digit part number is 56682. We'll see how it compares to the other one as we unbox it, but it's supposed to have a lot better performance in terms of what it can cut. It's 15 amps, which is about the same, 12-inch blade, 1-inch arbor. No load speed is 4,100 RPMs, 56 pounds. Now they did put handholds on the sides of this, so great. Legendary performance. To me, it's a new product, so I'm not sure legendary performance. Horizontal capacity 14 inches, vertical capacity 7.5 inches. They give two different numbers for vertical capacity. One with the crown molding vertical nested and baseboard against fence. So it's 7.5 to 6 3/4. Depends on what you're doing. 60 tooth blade. Now I like an 80 tooth blade, but I'll use it with the 60, I reckon. I have an 80 tooth I can put on it. So let's open it up and see what we got. Comes with a manual, of course. I recommend you read it. And a bunch of accessories. Okay, so that's first time out of the box. I expected an upgraded version of the Chicago Electric and the Admiral. This saw's in a different class altogether. Give you tools. It's actually kind of neat and a place to put it. I like that. Good morning. I did the unboxing of this just to show you what it came as. I haven't done any setup, and I want to go through the setup. In going through the setup, I'll show all the features. So I've got a piece of scrap wood. Let's just see how it cuts right out of the box. Yeah, that is pine. So we can see some of the options here. It's got the dust collection bag. I will replace that with hose. Okay, so while we're here, we'll take this off. This is the hose off of the big central machinery dust collection hose. And that'll fit down in there, but it's loose, so you have to have a shim. You have to have a shim to make that fit. Actually, if you, maybe not. I would probably shim that so it would stay in place because it would be moving back and forth. Someone asked me how big a space you need for a saw like this. Well, you need a fairly big space, first off, because you need about 4 foot this way. But you need more space this way if you're up against a wall. You have to have enough space out from the wall for this to fully extend. So now you're talking 4 foot that way. If you have it freestanding and you don't have a wall behind it, you can get away with a lot smaller space because this could move out into free space. And when you're not using it, it can retract like this. This is a stop so that you can put it there and this won't go back as much. And that lets you cut a different way on the front. Okay, so let's look at this. This is the tie down for the fence. That screw lets you take that off. And once you take that off, there's 2 screws here. And that's how you're going to adjust it. So let's set this to check the blade. I'm going to unplug the saw. So I'll set this. I test this periodically and it's 90 degrees. So I want to put down the arm. And I'll pull it back and tighten this so that it doesn't move. So is it 90 degrees? Well, I can tell you ahead of time, it's very hard to check because I didn't pull it all the way back. That's going to be a little easier. Where I had it, I was hitting the tip of a tooth, and that can throw it off. It's close enough to 90 degrees that I can't tell that it's not 90 degrees. So that is close enough to 90 that I can't tell that it's not 90. So if I want to go closer, I'm going to have to get a better tool. Turn the saw around. I got good contact on the back and the front, so I'm going to call that 90. Let's try the other side. Same thing. I'm going to call that 90. Now, something else we've got to check is this. That's pretty good. If I want to go any closer to absolute perfect, I've got to get a better tool. I'm going to call that close. If I can't tell if it's off or square, then I'm saying it's square. So that's actually kind of unusual out of the box to be correct. So I've got this locked. Let's do a cut. I've got to do two things. I've got to loosen this so it'll slide. I've got to pull this pin. This has a push in, push out pin, not spring loaded. So let's do a cut. Now watch this. This will kick just a little when I power it up. So let's see what we've got. Well, that looks absolutely square. If you look at that, there's no light showing anywhere on that, so I'm calling that 90 degrees. I ran this through a planer a long time ago, so if I wanted to really test this, I'd use a hardwood and run it through the planer right before I did this. But I'm calling that 90 degrees. If I did need to adjust the angle this way, I'd loosen these 4 screws, make it right, tighten them back up. Here's that pin. Push it in, holds it, pull it out. Okay, and plug this. Give you a 12-inch 62 blade. Looks like a good blade, and it has these lines in it to help with resonance, which is harmonics of the blade. And they have some here, and that's supposed to help with noise. For the motor, it has the same ratings as the other two saws, the Admiral and the Chicago Electric. I'm hoping overall it's better. It's got replaceable brushes. And a neat little feature is this. This is the dust collection. The saw naturally kicks the dust up into this, but they brought these two little ears down to try to catch more of the dust. And that's actually a good thing. Now they split that. Not exactly sure why, maybe to keep from tearing it up, I don't know, but the blade never goes back into that anyway because it moves with the blade. Okay, and I need to show this, I can't really describe this. This is the safety switch. The trigger won't go in until you move that little lever sideways, and then it'll go in. So it's a slightly different safety, but I actually like it better than the thumb holds that they used to have. Now it has this red marker to show you what degree you're at. It doesn't show the degree exactly, and you can adjust that if you want it to show better. As long as it's in the same part of the mark as I go back and forth, I really don't care that it's super accurate. As long as it's on the mark, the detents are going to take care of getting it in the right place. Of course, that might make it hard to do half degrees that aren't part of this. If I want to steady this, and it is kind of loose, this serves to push it against the front so that these always line up the same way. So if they're off, they'll always be off the same way. So it's pretty sturdy. It'd probably be better to have a second one here. Okay, they give you these side arms, and there is absolutely no adjustment whatsoever on these. And as you tighten that up, it comes up, and it's supposed to be in line. Let's see if it actually is. Not a very good straight edge, is it? That seems to be level across there. Okay, it has another feature which I'm not sure I'd use. The detent lever locks it in those pre-cut holes. If for some reason I don't want those to lock, like I said, I can't imagine a reason, but it's an option. You pull it up, you pull up on the bottom until you pull this all the way forward, and then it locks. So there's a little lip it catches on. Now I don't have that. Here again, I'm not sure why I need that. But hit that again and it releases. Then you're back to the detents. Okay, they give you two holes. One to put a screw down through, and then one that you can have a bolt and have a nut that locks and feed a bolt up from underneath to lock it on the table. And they recommend you put all four of those tie downs in place. They don't give you the bolts or the screws, but they give you the holes. Okay, they have this neat little lever I'll give you this. It has a little detent right here. See if you can see that. Okay, this is made to not come off. It's got a retainer clip here to keep you from taking this off, so it's always on. Can't imagine why you want to take it off, but it would be nice to have the option. It has a flat side, and that's where you should tighten this to. So you have to actually put this down in the slot, and then it locks in place. The downside is it's kind of hard to get it out without loosening this. It's like right on the edge of where it won't come out, but it will come out. Something I thought was a little innovative is there is no lock at the bottom. You cannot tighten that in a certain place from the bottom. What you do is put a piece of wood in, tighten this down. While this will slide down, this fence gets in the way. If you take that off, this will go down further, but maybe you want the fence. So you tighten this up. And as you tighten it up, it actually pushes that lever back, and that's what locks it in place. Again, I think that's kind of innovative. The reason I like that is you don't have to keep loosening a nut back here. You control it all from up here. The wings aren't very long. And the design of this, in concept, is what you want. You want a single point further out. You don't want a flat surface going all that way. It's extremely hard to get that completely flat over a long distance. But if you just have it mounted here and then somewhere out here you have a single point, it actually is easier to operate and more accurate. Then you've only got to adjust this single point instead of every point along the way. One improvement they made on this is the double bevel going 45 each way. They made this a lot easier to use. So you turn this lever now, and it holds itself. The other one, once you start it to go, it would flip over. So as you can see, while it releases, it doesn't release a whole lot. And I move that out of the way. Really, really nice. It has this measurement on both sides, so you can measure 45 this way, 45 that way. It's pretty neat, actually. Okay, so this is the detent, and I still have to loosen this to move it, but once I loosen this, I'm on the front of the saw. I can flip this, get it out of a detent, take it over to the next detent. So okay, I can't go all the way over and have that in position. So there's 33.9, 45, and it'll go as far as maybe 50. If I'm going to be using it in this position for a long time, I'll lock it. And 0 is going to be what you use most of the time. And this is kind of backwards. It's 0, so that's 90, and then I go to 45, which would be 45 one way or the other, and there's a mirror image of this on the other side. So that's I consider that an improvement. So there's 45. Let's give that a cut. Kind of wants to pull the wood in. Okay, there's no light anywhere coming through that, so that is 45 degrees. Now the Admiral has a way of releasing that from up here. Kind of like that. Not that way, I want it this way. So I lock the detent. I'll lock. I'll go ahead and lock that. Okay, I locked this because I just want the sliding action. I don't need the up and down. I'm also going to take this backstop and move it all the way back, just to get clearance for the motor. That's why those angles are on there. So let's do this. That wasn't the best cut in the world, but it's 45 degrees. It's a pretty good cut. So now that I've got it up, it's swinging freely, or relatively freely. And if I do the lever for the detent, now I can lock it in the detent and tighten this up. Very seldom do I do a cut like that. Most of the time I'm using this front to move it around and doing straight cuts. So pull that off. That's a lot of movement. I've got to adjust this to make this work correctly at times. I've got to remove this to make something else work right. So there's some trade-offs here. I've got the higher fence, and it gets in the way sometimes. Overall, the higher fence is better, by the way. Okay, out of the box, everything measured square. Wasn't that way on the Admiral, wasn't that way on the Chicago Electric. I don't know if they tuned this at the factory before they sent it out or what, but it is accurate out of the box. But they also give you ways to adjust it. I spent considerably less time doing the setup on this because it was already accurate. All I had to do was check everything. And my impression over the Chicago Electric is much, much nicer. More solid, bigger arms that actually work. The adjustment is fine-tuned. Overall, it's better. Boy, them slides need some oil. And if you're wondering what to use on those, use pneumatic oil. Put a couple drops on the front and back of each of those, and as it goes back, it'll spread it. You'll be a lot better off. The laser on the Admiral wasn't correct, and the Chicago Electric took some adjustment, and it had an easy adjustment. The Admiral did not have an easy adjustment. They kind of eliminated the adjustment for the laser altogether. You gotta see this. There's a light up in this, and it looks like a work light, but it really isn't. As I come down in here, the shadow of the blade tells me where it's going to cut. That's neat. Much better than a laser that has to be adjusted. That's innovative. There's no way to make that inaccurate other than your blade being off center some way. So that's always going to be accurate because the light's shining down both sides of the blade. Very, very innovative. Really, really like that feature. So I went to Harbor Freight and I found it on sale for $300. At first, you could find it for $300 all the time. Here lately, I actually had to wait a couple of months to find it for $300. It was discounted to $330. And of course, 20% off coupons don't work on this. I waited till I saw $300. So I upgraded from the Chicago Electric to the Admiral, then I upgraded from the Admiral to the Hercules. What do I like better? Well, for $300, I like this one a lot better. The other two are really good saws. This just has a few more options. It's a little more solidly built. It's a 15 amp motor. I really didn't notice on the other ones when I turned on the motor that they kicked as much as this one does. I even know it's coming and still can't restrain it. It's going to kick up a little. I'm not sure I found anything on this saw that I didn't like. I like the adjustment for this, that's new. The detent removal, I'm not sure I'd use that, but it's always better to have options. I might find a use for that. This is a little different, and I think they actually improved it. Having a measurement for 45 each way, I kind of like that, with detents, of course. It's got a different on-off switch. There's no way to lock it on. That's probably good, because you shouldn't be locking it on anyway. And it's got this amazing new light. You just got to see that and use it to believe it. Got the improved dust collection intake. That's a little better. The dust port size is a little different size, and I think I could probably adapt it to the small hoses fairly easily. The bigger hose is going to take an adapter. Overall, I'm very impressed with the quality and the amount of adjustments that you have. So for $300, that's almost twice as much as the Admiral, and the Admiral's a nice saw by itself. I still think it's worth it. So I'll use this for a while, 6 months or a year, and I'll do a follow-up. Let you know how it actually held up over time. So if you like the videos, please subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.